Hi, my name is Anthony Guzman, and I'm going to talk to you all about how to play softball. So first off, let's talk about the rules. In most games, you have scoring. In softball, like most sports, the object is to score more runs than the other team, or points. So the way that we divide up the game is by innings. An inning is a turn, or after each team gets a turn to hit. So one team hits, the next team hits. After that's over, the inning is over, and you go to the second inning. In our games, we will be playing 4 innings. So after 4 innings, whoever has the most points wins the game. And we'll also have a time limit to prevent games from going on too long. So if 30 minutes is reached before 4 innings, the game will be over right then and there. When a team gets a turn to bat, they get 3 outs. They can score as many runs as they want until they get 3 outs. Once 3 outs are made, then the next team gets to hit. And that's how scoring and the game is divided up. If you're the captain of the team, there are a few things that you need to choose. So before you enter the game, you should have an idea of where you want your players to play at. So there are 9 positions on the baseball field usually. In our tournament, we're gonna have 10 positions. So you're gonna have 4 infielders, a pitcher, a catcher, and then 4 outfielders. So have an idea of where you want your team to play at, and then also have an idea of where you want them to bat in the order, since when your team hits, one person hits, then the next person, and then the whole team bats, then you start again. So choose where you want your people to bat, and also choose where you want them to be on the field. When you start, you can have a few players that are going to be on the bench, so decide when to sub them in and out. A rule for the substitution: when you sub a person into the game, they have to play at least 1 inning on the field and at least 1 at bat. So after that they have had both of those, you can sub them out. If a player is injured, obviously they can get substituted. And this is also true if they're running the bases, you can sub out if players end up getting hurt, which I hope doesn't happen. But when you start the game, you're gonna wanna let the umpires know where you want each person to play at and what your batting order is gonna be. So you also get to choose whether you wanna bat first or second. You'll do rock, paper, scissors with the opposing captain. And after, whoever wins gets to choose if they wanna bat first or second. Okay, so now we're going to talk about fundamentals of the game. So first, we'll do pitching. When you pitch, you're going to want to have at least 1 foot on the rubber. Whether or not you choose to just stand and throw or step up and throw, it's up to you. But when you release the ball, your foot have to at least have 1 foot on the rubber. The pitch height is going to be between 6 and 12 feet high, so it has to be higher than 6 feet, but not higher than 12 feet. As long as it's within that range, it's fair game. So when pitching, the goal is to get the ball within the strike zone. The strike zone is going to be a square or more of a rectangle. If it hits that area, it's called a strike. If it misses, it's a ball. Everybody starts with a 1-and-1 count. If there are 3 strikes, the batter is out. If there are 4 balls, then the batter walks and goes to first base automatically. So basically, if there are 2 strikes that are made, since you started with 1-and-1, you have 3 strikes and you're out. And then same thing with the ball. If there are 3 balls, since you started with a 1-and-1 count, you'll automatically go to first base. So let's talk about hitting. When you step into the batter's box, you're gonna wanna have your hands together and at a decent distance, whatever feels comfortable for you, on the bat grip. When you swing, you're just gonna wanna kind of bring your hands through the hitting zone so you can make contact with the ball. It's always generally good to keep your eye on the ball when you're swinging. After you hit the ball, you drop the bat, you run. That's pretty much hitting. So when you're batting, there are a few things that can happen. So if you swing at the ball and you miss, it's a strike. If you swing at the ball and it goes outside of the lines, it's a foul ball, that's also a strike. If you don't swing and the ball lands in the zone, it's a strike. If you don't swing, the ball lands outside of the zone, it's a ball. When you make contact and the ball is in play, that's when you can run. And in play is between the 2 lines on the left and the right side. So now once you hit the ball, it's time to run the bases. So after you hit it, you have to run to first base. At first base, there are going to be 2 different bases. So there's going to be the base that the fielder is going to use, and there's going to be one that's slightly outside of it. That's the one that you're going to touch. That's mainly to prevent like collisions on the base path. So when you go to first base, you can run through it, but make sure that you use the safety base that's on the outside. If the throw gets to the fielder and he catches it and he's on the base before you get there, then you're called out. If you run past the base before the throw gets there, then you're safe. So let's say you hit the ball really far and you want to run past first base. If that's the case, then you could use the inside base. So you're going to want to round the base and touch the inside so you can go to the next one. Once you pass first base, go to second base, you have to now stay on the base. You can't overrun it. First base, you're allowed to overrun. However, once you get to second base and third base, you have to stop at the base. If you run over the base and you pass it, whoever's fielding can tag you with the ball, and then you would be called out. So when you go to the next base, you're going to want to stand on the base or stop before. A good method of doing this is sliding, or just stopping your momentum when you arrive to the base. Let's say that there is more than one runner on base. So there's going to be two scenarios that could happen. There's a force out, and then there's a tag out. So let's talk about the force out first. So for example, let's say that somebody is on first base. If there is a ball that's hit in play, the person who just batted has to go to first base. So that means that whoever's on base already can't go back. They have to go to the next base. So in that case, the fielder can just touch second base and they're automatically out because the person on first base has to run to second base. That's a force out. Now for the second part, which is a tag out, let's say you hit a ball really far and you cross first base, you're going to go to second. Now the fielders have to tag you out because there's a choice. So you can choose to go back to first base or you can choose to go to second base. In that case, now the fielder has to tag you out. They can't just touch the base. So when someone is running the bases, you're not allowed to interfere with them. So while someone is running, you're not allowed to get in the way of them. You can't block them from moving to the next base. If that happens, then we're going to call obstruction. Obstruction is basically if you try to obstruct or make it harder for the person to go to the next base. So basically, if you see someone running around the bases, just try to get out of their way so that you're not blocking them from moving to the next base. If it happens, the runner is going to automatically be allowed to go to the next base. So now for scoring, when you're crossing home plate, there's going to be two bases. So there's going to be the one that the fielder's going to use, which is the one that's closer to play, and there's going to be one that the runners are going to use, which is going to be farther from the plate. So that's the one you're going to want to touch, the farther one, just so it's safe and there's no collisions. So there's also going to be a line between third base and home plate. Once you cross that line, it's called the commit line. You've already committed to going home. So if the catcher catches the ball and touches the base, then you're out. But if you're not past the line yet, then you're still technically safe. The catcher isn't allowed to tag. It has to be a force out. Just to prevent from collisions, I think it's the safest option for us. So if you're running, be sure to touch the outside base. If you're fielding, be sure to get the out at the inside one. So let's talk about fair balls and foul balls. So if a ball is hit between the lines, it's a fair ball. But if it's outside of the lines, it's a foul ball. The limit of it is basically first base and third base. So if a ball goes foul before it passes first base or third base, then it's a foul ball. If it lands foul to begin with, then of course it's going to be foul. However, if it lands fair, passes first or third base, then it goes foul, it would still be fair because it landed inside, it went past a certain distance, so now it's safe to call it fair. Okay, so let's say you're fielding now and you catch a ball. So when it's caught, whoever's on base already has to go back to the base they started from. If that doesn't happen, if they try to go to the next base, all you got to do is touch that base and the runner that started there is also out. If you're running, you're going to want to wait until the person catches the ball to decide whether or not to advance. So you wait at the base. If the ball is hit deep in the outfield and you want to move to the next base, you would need to start at the base. And then as soon as the ball is caught, you could start running to the next one. That's called a tag up. So how to catch and throw a baseball, or a softball in this case. So when you catch and when you throw, you're going to want to have your glove out, just nice and, just there, so that way it's ready. after you catch the ball, you're going to want to bring your arm all the way back. That way you get more power. And then you're going to want to step when you throw as well, so that you can generate more momentum when you throw. So don't throw with your legs planted in the ground. Throw after taking a step into it. When you're fielding ground balls, you're going to want to have both feet kind of like shoulder width apart. You're going to want to bend your knees, and you want to be able to get down as low as you can. That way your glove touches the ground, so the ball doesn't roll under. You're also going to want to have your hand above the glove, so that way, in case the ball takes a bad bounce, you'll be able to block it with your body or with your hand. So let's talk about sportsmanship. So as always, you're going to want to show respect to the opposing teams, your own teammates, and of course the umpires. Me and Arthur are going to be calling every game, so be sure to show us some respect. I'm sorry if we make bad calls. You're allowed to dispute them, however, we ask that you do it right after they happen, not later on in the game. When the game's over, be sure to shout out the opposing team's name, give high fives, and celebrate that you all have just finished your game. My name is Anthony Guzman. This has been your softball tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have fun playing out on the field.